think we're live. Anybody can see it? I'll check, make sure. Okay. Yes, we're live. Hey, everybody. Yay. I'm always thrilled when technology actually works for me. I think that's it's always a good thing. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. I'm just going to give a moment for everybody to pop on here. Welcome to my next Spiritual Cafe live interview. And I'm so excited about my guest today. I met him several years ago, and I don't know, we just clicked. I don't know why, but we just kind of clicked in over dinner and through the events you were working and everything. I've always wanted to sit and chat with you again, because I know we've chatted over dinner a bit ages ago, but there's so much has happened since then. So much has changed for you that I wanted to get an update to see where you are today. But my guest today is David Wells. He's a Hay House author, a psychic medium, an expert on the Kabbalah and astrology and past lives, and probably a whole bunch more that you're a jack of all trades, it seems. A lot of you may remember him from ages ago from Most Haunted, but that was then, this is now. But I know a lot of people got to know you through that program on TV many years ago. So welcome, David.
Hi, Laura. It's really good to talk to you. It's been a while. You haven't changed a bit. Incredible.
It's all about the lighting.
Yeah, so it's working for you.
You look great too. Are you in Scotland now?
I live in Scotland now, yes, on the borders. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. It must be absolutely beautiful there.
It is. It's very cold and often wet, but it's what makes it green, as I say,
Yeah, lovely. Someday I'll get to Scotland. Someday.
Yeah, you did Ireland just recently, I saw, but you didn't come this side. Yeah.
No, not yet. I'm gonna get there though. I mean, it's a beautiful country. So just I always love to let people know how my guests got to where they are today. And so I know you were in the Navy at one point. You might have worked for the Queen, maybe. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
How did you get into this work? Were you like this as a child?
I think I was, yeah, I definitely was like this as a child. I used to talk to some relations of mine who had crossed over, much to their annoyance in the end, I think, of my grandmother, certainly. But yeah, it was something I did as a child. But then I had an experience where something was in the room that I wasn't quite sure what it was. And I had I think, kind of like a fit. And the doctor gave me a sleeping draft inside some strawberry jam just to calm me down, and then it left me. And I think that was the moment, and it often happens, I'm sure, if you've got children, grandchildren, then that they seem to be more in tune, and I think that was just the case. But then you learn that maybe not everybody appreciates it. Certainly, remember I grew up in the 60s, and there was a point where it just kind of wasn't right to say anything, and then you don't, and like anything else, you lose it. And kids nowadays have something that will beep or has a screen on it, and that's their attention gone, and they're not tuning into anything else. But then I had an out-of-body experience again when I was in my 30s. I was really ill with pneumonia, and that was after I'd been in the Royal Navy, after I'd worked on the Royal Yacht Britannia and all the rest of things. And that's when it really started to come back, because if it's there and it's supposed to be there, then it will come out.
Yeah, I hear that so often with people, that they had an experience when they were very young and then kind of put it to the side for many years, and it reemerges in their adulthood. And you said it was in your 30s that this began to be more aware to you again.
Yeah, it was. I had left the Royal Navy, and I was working just in catering and things like that, and I got really sick over holidays. It was Christmas holidays, and I went home to my mum and dad's, and I got really sick and was taken. I think it was like New Year's Eve. I went to bed New Year's Eve just feeling a bit ill, and I woke up just a few days later, and I had been totally out of it for a few days. And that's when I started to, it wasn't really even, well, I had an experience then when I saw someone in the hallways, and she told me to go back to my bed. Go back to bed, son, it's not your time. So I did.
Oh,
And
oh, so this was someone in
a
spirit that you saw
spirit,
in the
yeah, it
hallway.
was an old lady
Wow.
in spirit. And because when I looked around, I saw myself lying in bed, and you come out of a fever, and you think it's just like fever talk,
Right.
and then things started to go just silly in the house I was living in Portsmouth then. And in proper Hampshire, just saying. And and, and the I was hearing noises off. I was seeing things. It was just ridiculous, and I was getting more and more tired. And if you are an uncontrolled medium, or you're uncontrolled psychic in any way, shape, or form, you leach energy like you wouldn't believe because you can't
Yeah.
control it.
Mhm.
And I was
Light bulbs blow out.
yeah, also something I was on my knees with it, Laura, and
Yeah.
a friend of mine suggested that I went to see this lady who runs a school. I did that, and that led me to astrology, to Kabbalah, and to the past life work.
Yeah, can you imagine if that didn't happen, like how different your life would be right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be maybe the general manager of a restaurant or a hotel or something, which is where I was working at the time, and
Mhm.
that would be my life. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So what can you recommend for someone? Because I'm noticing a lot of people coming up um, to me, during events and things like that, saying, I don't, all of a sudden things are starting to become more aware to them, psychically, and they don't know where to begin. So, what would you suggest to people who feel like they're opening up psychically and they feel very, very empathic and they're feeling everything?
I think the first thing you need to learn then is to control that and to bring
Oh,
it
yeah.
down a notch or to close it off as much as you can so that you can choose when you're working essentially and when you're working with spirit and when you're not. I mean, I think we always are, but you know what I mean when you're really consciously doing it, because that's when the real drain for me started. And what I experienced was just a very simple thing at night, and I still do this at night every night before I go to sleep, is to envision a pentagram. A pentagram always always point up,
Mhm.
but imagine it on fire, just floating in my room. And what that does is it pushes protection into your space and lets you sleep. It doesn't harm anyone. It's just saying, look, I'm kind of off at the moment, so I'd like some sleep. Obviously, you go off into the astrals and work anyway, but on a
Right.
physical side, it helps. And also, I think learn about energy, learn about chakra work, know how you can control the way the energy flows. And the trouble is, I think a lot of the time, Laura, to be honest, we want that to happen tomorrow. I'll read the book, I'll watch the video, I'll do the course, then hey,
Right.
and I still have my moments when I've forgotten to do something. I think, whoa, no wonder I'm so spinny or so tired, or so it's always a work in progress. So
Yes.
just don't beat yourself up about not knowing stuff. I get that. I get that a lot from people say, "Oh, well, I don't understand how this." It takes time, Like I said, I've been doing this for nearly 3 decades, and I still go, "Wow, I never thought of it that way."
Yeah.
It's just part of the journey.
Isn't it amazing? There's always something new to learn all the
Always,
time. Yeah.
always.
And a lot of times I'll tell my students too, it's like just when you get used to how your psychic abilities work, like next year it'll be a bit different.
It'll
It's always,
change. Yeah,
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 it's exciting when you think of it more of an adventure than like a burden of like, oh no, I got to learn something new now.
yeah,
It really
yeah.
is an adventure.
Yeah, I mean, I started. I was quite bookish, so very much about what does this mean? Where does this sit on the tree of life? What does this? And then as time's gone on, I've let go of all that information and gone more on the feels, more on the feeling of things.
Yeah.
And I started working recently. I did some work in Australia doing angelic work, and I never thought in a million years I would work with angelics, and
Yeah.
it's been the most incredible thing for me that this new wave, particularly of angelic work that I've been doing, has been a real eye opener, to be honest.
Oh, beautiful. Did you just not believe in the angelic realm or was it just not in your wheelhouse?
No, I absolutely believed in them, but
Uh-huh.
for me, because of the association with the Tree of Life, and each Sephira, the sphere on the Tree of Life, has an archangel associated with it. So therefore, my working with them was always probably temple related or kabbalistically related. And then this kind of massive shift where a new one came in called Daniel. He came in to walking around and was thinking, what is going on here? And this another one called Ioniel, who I had to really research, but he was there, and that doesn't something I would like to say to people. It doesn't validate it just because I found it in a book, found it in he's actually in the Bible, but you know, if you get an archangel or an angelic force, because I got like maybe I think about 10 or 12 after that, and I couldn't find them anywhere. But it doesn't mean to say they don't exist, and they will validate it and they will prove to you. And I ask for proof, and that's something I'm big on. You know, I don't just accept everything I'm told. That's a dangerous thing, you know.
That's what I love about you, because you're so grounded with this work, and you do like, okay, give me some more information, because like you're not going to take it for take it
Yeah,
with a
you
grain of
can't.
salt. Yeah.
You can't, especially when you're, you know, I taught a course last, it took a year. I thought it'd just take a few months, but it took a year because upstairs decided it took a year. And every step of the way, when I was literally just, I was like days ahead of the students I was teaching. And that's honest, because it was all so new. But it was, some days it was like, the person were just ridiculous. They were just like, making me laugh out loud all the time.
What, the angelic realm has a sense of humor.
Oh, I think the altar, and I when you come to working with masters and higher forces, I think the funnier they are, I think the higher the vibration they tend to be. You know, I think it's certainly been my experience that I've had a few, when I've been in meditation, encountered masters and you know, high angelics. They do have a wry sense of humor, which is peculiar. You think that's a particularly human thing, don't we?
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to be.
Oh, that's good. So the more we laugh, the more we're closer to angels, I guess, right?
Absolutely. I think that's a good saying. Get that on a t-shirt.
Well, it's a lot of times too, when I'm sitting with someone, maybe doing a mediumistic connection with them, and they're grieving so heavily, and I have to remind them, I say, your people in spirit really want you to be happy, and then you'll actually be closer to them in some ways if you're happy, and that they'll experience that through you. And has that been your experience as a medium as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think that, you know, it's not always easy to be happy, even for us practitioners and working, putting ourselves energetically in the right place. And we go through difficult times. You know, we go through heavy Pluto transits or Saturn returns like everybody else.
Right.
But when you learn how to shift into that higher vibration space, it often involves the humor of good friends, that text you think, yeah, I know I'm being a bit of a princess, you're right. It's often those moments that lift you out of it. You know, it definitely is. And the ability, it's not about not taking things seriously. It's not that. It's about understanding that this too shall pass, which, you know, is very, very true. And also that, you know, people tend to forget that when we do all this training, and we do a lot of training, don't we? We do a lot of meditation, we do a lot of reading, we do a lot of research. We're clawing ourselves back to who we really are anyway. You know, that's who we are in the first place. So actually, we're trying to drop all of this other stuff to try to become this high vibration, and laughter certainly helps.
Yes. Yeah. And that's one thing I like with people that come to sit with me for a mediumistic session. I try to remind them, they think that by being sad, by being happy, they're forgetting their people in spirit.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's, you know, but they want you to be happy because they're going to experience life through you. And so,
but there's also, there's a great beauty in sadness too. You know, the balance of it, like, for example, in the tree of life is always balanced left, right, back, forwards. It's all dependent on everything else. And there's a wonderful place on the tree called Bina, B-I-N-E-H. And it's the home of silence. You know, it's the home of that deep, deep silence you can go into, where there's actually peace. And even within the greatest sadness, if you can find that part of you that is totally at peace with that, and understand that that's part of the experience, then you can start to, you know, walk out of it.
And that's so needed right now, because I know a lot of people are going through that sort of that sadness and not really being able to define it. I mean, we know the purpose of why it's happening, but we don't understand why we're feeling it.
The danger also is that some people then go the opposite, and they think, I'm going to be happy, happy, happy. I'm happy, I'm happy. I am happy. You know, and that's not doing you any good whatsoever either.
No, it's just avoidance, kicking the can down the road, right?
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
But I think in the process of trying to get to that evenness.
To make it genuine, to make it honest. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Feel the pain and move through it, and
and experience it. And never forget, you know, I was always told that when you feel at your most vulnerable, at your loneliest, is actually when you're protected by the spiritual worlds at the greatest. It's when there's more of them around. And if you can learn to shift your perception out of this world just a little bit, and to feel that energy. And it doesn't, I, like you, as I work with guides and angelics and masters, and I never, not never, that's not true, I very often don't know who I'm working with. I just can feel there's one or two I definitely know who when they're there, but often it's just that supportive collective energy.
Yeah.
Just feel
Yeah.
it.
Oh, definitely. And sometimes I think people, they want to know their spirit guide's name or who they are and what they look like. And it's like, it really doesn't matter. I mean, I know I've only had a couple of experiences that have been really almost like I can almost see them, and I can see what they look like. But other than that, I don't really know who I'm working with at any particular time.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I get that question a lot. How do I contact my spirit guide? And the thing is, it's almost they do contact you. As you raise your vibration higher and higher, it's easier for us to hear them, but they're always there for us. But it's us hearing them that's the thing. And you're right. It doesn't matter as long as you can feel that energy and feel that support. And there's also, sorry, bang my microphone then. There's also that thing about comparing yourself to how other people are doing it, how other people are seeing it. When I do past life seminars, and people are like, oh, and then this man came over the hill and he was on a horse, and the horse was white, and he's wearing a robe and he had a brooch on there, and someone's going, I kind of got blue. That's irrelevant. The person who gets blue could be just about to make the biggest breakthrough of their life. It's not always the case that seeing and hearing and all the rest of it produces any more advancement any quicker.
Yeah, that's so true. And there's one thing too that I mentioned in my classes too, that everybody's perception psychically is different. It's almost like a unique thumbprint. Everybody's impressions psychically are different, and so with how people express what they're experiencing might be very different from what someone else might be experiencing. But then they think they're so far behind, and they might not be at all.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like personalities, and we tend to sometimes, when you learn Kabbalah, you kind of work on the personality, then you work on the soul, then you work on the spirit. And it's almost like poor Mr. Personality is left there, but it's essentially, it's part of that triad. It's essential. The soul won't work unless it works through your personality. Hopefully, what we do is we streamline it so that they work better together. I mean, my personality went right off the rails like some errant teenager when I first started my training in Kabbalah. And my poor soul must have been going, oh, Lord, what's he done? What's he said? What's he doing now? But yeah, you learn, don't you?
Yeah. So are you saying you were dragged kicking and screaming to the Kabbalah?
I don't think I was dragged kicking and screaming, but I think I did kick and scream. I wasn't dragged because Gemini, I'm a Gemini, so my attention span is like, oh, squirrel. It's like nothing. So I had to work really hard at it because it was something that had to be sorted, really, because I couldn't concentrate for longer than 5 minutes. I was thinking about my shopping or what was I having for my tea, and it just took time. It's like we said earlier, we're all very different, so it just takes time.
Yeah, so patience is key when you're on the spiritual path, right?
Very much so.
Very much. So what I'm so fascinated by past life work and things like that, and is there one particular, I mean, you do obviously do regressions, or you do group regressions and teach past life work. Is there any experience that you've had doing this work that really was so profound that you wouldn't mind sharing?
Well, just about every regression I ever did, to be honest.
Like, how can we narrow that
I'm
down?
astounded. Yeah, I mean, when you do one-on-one work, I mean, group work, you get it too when you're teaching classes, but the one-on-one work, I think one very early one I had a lady who was, she wasn't very well, and she wanted to, as part of her bucket list, she wanted a past life regression. So we did this. We were doing the regression, which I can't even remember what was happening in the life, to be honest. It was the event that happened during it. And Raphael came into the room, this presence, and I knew immediately it was Raphael. And he put his hands on her shoulders. And I don't touch people when they're doing past life work. Obviously I'm not going to go, oh, can you feel that in your head? I don't, I stay back. I can just hear what they're saying. And I said to her, can you feel those hands on your shoulder? And she said, oh yeah, she said, your hands are lovely and warm. I said, well, they're not mine. And I said, do you mind if I put my hands? So I put both of my hands on her arm. And she's like, oh, she freaked out initially. She went, oh my God, oh my God. But he was so strong that the whole room was filled with this healing energy. And she, it really boosted her. It really helped her in her journey to recovery. And it was astonishing. But then you get, just recently, I've got really bonkers past lives that you think, what? Because normally they're like feeding chickens, or they're working in, shops, or doing things that you would imagine, or they're in battles and all the rest of it.
Right.
But I had a Time Lord. I know, a Time Lord. I had...
what? Are we getting all like Doctor Who on this?
honestly, it was... the thing is that the person concerned kind of dressed like that. And I thought, that this is bonkers. This is...
Wow.
What? And then one lady who... I'm a big believer that as humans, we have a human soul, and our condition, we're made differently to the angelic realms. We're different beings, if you like. And I thought, you can't be... I can't become an angel unless it's by the divine decree of the source, like Metatron and Sandalphon, and it's a rare thing. And then she turned out, she was reversed it. She had past lives in angelic roles. So she was, if you like, an angelic that had incarnated. And it blew my mind, because I couldn't get her back to Earth to do the regression. You come back to Earth, and where are you? What have you got on your feet? And she went, I can't get back down. I can't get back down to Earth. So I linked in with her, and I said, okay, and listened to what they were saying, which they're quite surprised I ever do that, but I do sometimes. And she was going up, not down. So I just let her carry on going up. And as she went, she turned into this white light. And anyway, it turned out, a long story short, she was here to observe, and her job was working in a courtroom, and she was a court official. So she saw every arc of humanity. She saw the good people, she saw the really bad ones. She saw every face of humanity, which actually was why she'd incarnated.
Wow.
So there's always that reason. There's always the reason, It's extraordinary.
It just blows I'm speechless. It just blows my mind.
It does. Because sometimes I'm like, I'm poised with my pen going, sort of, what do you wear on your feet? And they'll say, oh, like I've got Victorian shoes on. And most of the time I can see part of what they're seeing, and I help them. I don't tell them what to see. I just say, move forward, move backwards. But I can kind of see where they are, And then they say things like, well, nobody can see me, but I can see them. And I'm thinking, ooh, then I'm leaning in for, this is an interesting one. So they've been, past lives where people have been ghosts. So they've been wandering around because they did cross, and just wandering in and out of houses, just checking people out because they could, and I had to wind it back so that the moment of their death, they crossed rather than stuck around, and it removed that. For example, if someone's ghostly in a former life, they in this life feel like they've never seen, that nobody ever sees them. So it translates as something very physical. So, and the angelic one, she never fitted in because she was watching people all the time, and people were kind of standoffish from her because they sensed that divine energy in her, so it has a knock-on effect that happens here on Earth too,
I can see, I can imagine I can actually think of people that's they're like that,
exactly.
So that makes a lot more sense. Oh my gosh. Now you mentioned the in-between world, and I know that you and I kind of met through, like, ages ago through ghost hunting when it was all the rage, right? And so, and so, but after that experience, all those experiences I had some profound experiences doing that work, but over time, I just started to feel like it's such a rare experience for energies to be stuck in between. And how do you feel about that?
It is. I think that it's energetically, it's in a sense, it's sad. although some of them are far from sad. Some of them are, well, often angry, as I'm sure you know. They've got some grievance, something they haven't quite finished, and that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? That they don't feel like they've finished whatever it is. And exactly like the past life regression, when someone was a ghost, that's why they stuck around, because they didn't feel as if things had been finished properly. But I do think that for me, it is quite, it's rarer than you think. But I guess also it depends on ancient lands too. You know, if you've got ancient ground where people are often still just hanging around because they liked it, you know.
Yeah, they have free will, right?
Yeah. I mean, I remember doing a house in Cornwall, and been in the same family for 700 years. Can you imagine? 700 years they had kept the same house. It wasn't like they had added to it. It did have plumbing, you know. It was a beautiful stately home, but they had an Elizabethan dining room, which was Elizabethan, you know, but it was genuinely where the Elizabethans would have their food. So but they would do things like when you were walking around and say, oh, there's a woman on the staircase, always on the staircase, and she's wearing this, and she'll go, oh yeah, that's great, that's the Grand Duchess, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 removed, she's always here, and they're living with them, you know. It's quite extraordinary.
That's amazing. So you think for the most part, when energies like that are sensed in a modern day home, that it's just that those spirits just like to be in that space? Or is it because the people in the space are so sensitive that they can sense different time frames?
I think it's probably a combination of that. Yeah, I think what would be needed would be people who can sense it initially, because, you know, we all transmit and receive, and some of us are doing that differently, and consciously or unconsciously we can pick up on it. I think that, you know, wherever people have lived and died, there will be a residue. Right. But a haunting is a different thing, because it's stronger. It's not just a memory. You know, you can, like, you know, at 4:15, the downstairs maid is always seen on this staircase. Well, that's just memory. She's not waiting. Yeah. She's not looking at her watch. 4:15, best get up and haunt that staircase. She would be everywhere. You know, she'd be seen all around at different times in different places. Right. And that's the ones who have a consciousness of sorts that you can link into, you know.
It's fascinating. I just there's so much we don't know.
Well, yeah, you that's know, the joy.
And yeah, just the whole consciousness and the different dimensions. I think we're just just touching the very top of it.
Very much so.
Fantastic. So so if any, I mean, I know I'm somewhat interested about the Kabbalah. It comes in and out of my awareness sometimes. I really should look into that. If someone really is interested in the, I know it's not something you just kind of lightly go into. No. You just don't. If someone has been sort of drawn to those teachings, where can they begin?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one. And if you want to do, if you really want to commit to it, it's years. And well, again, I've not stopped with it. I've been doing research. I did a book called Kabbalah Made Easy, which just made me howl because made easy, but that's a generic brand of title that Hay House have, you know. So they have a tarot made easy, and so it did make me chuckle because it's very experiential. Kabbalah is you know, that's the thing about it. That's what I absolutely loved about it. Whilst you learn it and you understand the words, if you like, understand the magic words, it actually manifests in reality in your life as you learn it. So the lessons that you're attracting, basically what you're thinking about, which is, we all know that's very true. But back in the day when I did it, it was like not a thing. And what I often love about it is it can be just a few steps ahead of you as well. But to start it, it's really because there's not many people teaching the Q, which is the one I learned. So the mystic Western tradition, if you like. There's lots of people also teaching the K, which is more Judaic. There's the C. There's all sorts of different kinds of Kabbalah. So first of all, choose your Kabbalah, and they do into, because Kabbalah is Kabbalah. They do, it's the same organizing system, the tree of life, and the words and say it's just taught in different ways and using different methods. And mine is very astrological, past life, tarot based. And if that appeals to you, then it's really difficult, Laura, because as much as I would love to do it, it can be. I have a group still running, and it's 10 years.
Wow.
To get them up, you get them in the Safari, up the tree, back down the tree, and then back up again. And it took me, it was 11 years, of study. So, but that doesn't mean to say that even just knowing a tiny little thing, even just knowing that the tree of life, the 10 planets are the circles, they are linked through the circles, and knowing the way in which that flows is one thing. Knowing that one pillar is mercy, one is severity, one is balance, 3 pillars. You've learned Kabbalah, because you want to be standing in balance, don't you? You don't want to swing to mercy or swing to severity. So even that's learned Kabbalah. That's you learning Kabbalah. Your sword hand is your right hand, which is the hand, the pillar of severity. Your shield is this side, which is mercy. So you've learned might and mercy, Kabbalah. So it's a difficult one. It breaks my heart that I can't. I have done a course. There's a Hay House course, Kabbalah Made Easy. I would love to do my own. The Awakened Soul one I did just a couple of years ago was similar to it, but using the new archangels that are coming in. So that was vibrationally high, kind of difficult energy. But I would say if you embark upon something like Kabbalah, be ready for it, because they will come. It's not pretend. I like all of this work.
It's not something you play with. Yeah.
No, it's like all of this work. You don't play with any Wiccan, whatever it is, you don't play with it. But I found that they really do come,
when the time is right.
And it's wow. I mean, it is wow. And when people first start the journey, I get a bit melancholy for the days when I was going, oh my God, I've seen this, and everyone and all the jaded old Kabbalists are going. Now I'm that old Kabbalist going, Archangel in your front room, whatever.
I wish for those days too. Like when I started opening up psychically, like I know I have medium friends of mine who say that. Don't you wish for the days when we're like, wow, this is amazing?
It's true, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, we should learn. That's why I love being around people, because you get that from them, don't they? They go, oh my God, you'll never guess what happened. And I'm in your mind, you're going, yeah, I know exactly what happened.
What you're talking about. I love having those.
Joy.
It really is. And it kind of circles you back around to remind you of how far you've come, but also remind you how much more you have to go. And
and how awesome it is. How amazing it is.
Yeah, it really is. Just I can't imagine a life any other way.
True.
So astrology, I have to ask you, I know I kind of wanted to avoid the subject of what's happening right now, but I have to ask you about the astrology of what's going on right now. Like, you must be all over this.
Well, I am and I'm not, because I don't do columns anymore.
Okay.
So I don't write in advance as much as I used to write. I have looked at, we knew that with this gathering of planets, I always try not to use too much technical words, because let's humanize it.
Thank you.
But this get together of planets that have been in Capricorn, have done their job. They've shaken it. They've really kind of taken charge of helping us to look at things in a different way. Particularly because it's Capricorn, Earth sign. It's about money, our governments, our professional lives, all of those sort of things. But I think the essence of the way in which the astrology is moving, we always knew 2020 is going to be a difficult year. It's a year of great change, massive change, and Saturn changing, moving into Aquarius, that's a big change, and Pluto's going to be there in a few years' time. These are all big shifts. But I think really for me, at the core of it, is that when you want change and you invite change and you talk, and people have talks in our industry, as you know, about the ascension and everything, the new age and the this and the that, and perhaps expected it to come on the wings of angels born with trumpets blaring and golden coins dropping from the ceiling. It was never going to be that. so here we have change. And I say to people now, this is what you're here for. You know, here's the change that's coming. You're here to be part of that. So how are we going to do it? What it's not this is, and I agree, it's dreadful. I don't understand half of it, but the reality is what happens after it. That's actually, we do our work, we do our healing work, we do our, I do it every day. I'm sending something out, but I think really we have to push also into the future. What do we want to see after that? And the astrology supports it. Mars and Saturn are conjunct at the moment, and that's like, cantankerous city. That's like teenagers throwing their rattles, and that's as it should be. That's as it should be. Let's look to them and see what they need from this. Millennials, it's your time. Hurrah.
Isn't it? I mean, I know I've had conversations with friends of mine that, it is an uncertain time, and it's really kind of unnerving for a lot of us too.
Of course.
But at the same time, it's strangely like exciting as well, because it's so unprecedented, and we know we can sense the change that's coming in. That's actually, I think, is going to be really good.
Yeah.
So,
but that's up to us. It's up to everybody. It's not up to us to say, I wonder what the government will do this or whatever. We need to find a way in some way, shape, or form to be. I know it's an old one, but we really do need to be that change.
Yeah. So for all of us to be sort of hunkered down in our homes, and just sort of really looking at what our individual lives and what we're bringing to it, and then sort of let it see where it comes when we all emerge. Where does that go?
We're allowed back out of our houses. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I just wanted to, I never mentioned your website, davidwells.co.uk.
Yeah.
Website. Okay, great. And you've got a YouTube channel that you've just begun as well.
Yeah. If you just search me on there, I don't know what it is. Has it got a name? I think it's just David Wells, to be honest. Yeah. I've only just started it. So, it's not all singing, all dancing at the moment, but there's stuff on there.
But if people subscribe, they'll get notifications.
Yeah, they get notifications. Yeah.
Wonderful. And you've got some wonderful meditations, which I think would be really helpful.
Yeah, if you sign up for my newsletter, you get free meditations.
Yay. So go to davidwells.co.uk, sign up for his newsletter, and you'll get a great meditation, which could be really useful at the moment for a lot of people. So what was I getting? It was something else I went, I had a question about guides. I wanted to circle back to the guides for a moment.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with someone once who their theory was potentially that our guides are actually us in a previous life. What do you think of that? Yeah.
Aspects of? I can understand why there could be aspects of, because we have threads to a lot of different lives all happening at the same time without, blowing everybody's mind. We do that. But if I could say that I have done past life regressions where people have gone into a life where they've been a spirit guide. So I did a past life regression for a friend of mine, and she said during the regression, she said, "Why are you up a tree dressed as a Chinaman?" And I'm like, "Well," and then I thought, "Oh no," I said, "Oh, I must have been a guide in a former life." She went, "Oh yeah, that'll be it." Or I've seen a tell in past life work is when so people will say, I'm doing this, I'm going into this building, I'm looking at this building, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And there's sometimes when you do past life, they're going into a church, they're going home, they're going to work. And when they say I know their experience of life as a spirit guide because they're watching them. So then I have to encourage them to come out with that and say, okay, so you're watching someone, and they'll go, yeah, well, they're doing this. Is this? And I say, okay, so what are you doing? And they'll go, and then eventually they go, hang on a minute. Eventually they get it, and they'll go, oh no, I'm watching them. I'm a spirit guide. So I'm not sure. Who knows, Laura? I'm never going to say anybody's wrong because that's ridiculous, Yeah. But I think there's also aspects of each other so for example, you can call upon an aspect of yourself from a former life, which is the beauty of past life work. So if I need to really push myself forward and I'm feeling a bit meh, then I can pull on the image of myself in a life where I was a real tough old cookie. And it makes me feel that energy, and I can go into a meeting or go into a situation knowing that I have this in me,
Yeah. Wow. That's wonderful. Yeah. I've heard, you can also go back and experience, previous lives and sort of rewrite what happened so that
Yeah,
that
yeah,
doesn't have an
timeline.
influence. Yeah.
Yeah. If someone has a made a choice and they really feel it was wrong, then I get them to look at the life as a line, and there's little red markers where they could have made a different choice, and they decide which marker to drop into. We then look at the choices they made. Then I ask them what choices. Let's go back. Let's change, turn left instead of right. They see how it pans out, and then they're given the choice to accept life A or life's like a game show. Life A or life, that describes the whole thing. It is like a game show.
Yeah.
And if they choose a different one, it has a knock-on effect in this life and the here and now. Yes. So
Yeah.
timeline therapy. Yeah.
Energetically, some people might think it's just wishful thinking, but I feel intuitively that it really truly is changing the energy
Yeah.
of what
I've seen it
we're
work. I've
experiencing.
seen it work lots of times. Yeah.
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 Wow. Okay. One last crazy question for you.
Yeah. I love
Ha-
crazy questions.
I know we could talk all day. So in your past life regressions that you've done, have you experienced, I know you mentioned the Time Lord and maybe some other, different
Angels and
characters,
ghosts. Yeah.
angels. And have you experienced what could be considered like extraterrestrial, like Arcturians or Palladians?
You mean this week or generally? All the time.
Oh. All the
All
time.
the
Okay.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon. And what I absolutely love about it is these people, from Australia to Japan to England to the States, wherever, they describe the same things. So the Pleiadians always describe their ships as being, they're almost like, and when I see them, when I'm working with them, with the clients, they're almost like a snake-like. They have scales and they shimmer, and they always describe that, always. And then when they approach in their human form, they approach the ship, they all start to shake, and they all start to, like, physically in real life shake, and they go, I can't do this, I'm going to be sick, I can't do this. And I keep saying, you just need to push through it, because they're dropping their physical form, and then they emerge, and it's beautiful. And often that's the case, and these people don't know each other. So
Wow.
yes is the answer to that. I
It's
absolutely love
amazing.
it. I
I
love
do
it.
too. And do you feel like their presence is becoming stronger as time goes on?
There's certainly, I'm experiencing in past life work. I just had a clinic in Southsea, and there was a lot more of it there than I've experienced before. So I would imagine that they're here for a purpose to help us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not
Yeah. And
in.
something that just, if people are thinking, wow, I wonder if that's something that always have is some kind of issue around food. So they find food, because it's a very earthy thing. They find,
Oh.
they're allergic to gluten, or they have very strong allergies, or they have difficulties. I can't really eat much of this, or can't eat much of that. That's one of the tells.
Wow. I'm getting a lot of aha moments right now. Well, I know I have someone who works with the Arcturians quite heavily, and anytime she works with them, and then she comes into my office or the office that we share, um, they'll end up showing up in my readings sometimes. I'm like, oh, she brought them home.
You brought them back with it.
You
Yeah.
brought,
Yeah.
she's just infusing my space with the Arcturian energy. I'm like, and if you had asked me, 15 years ago, if I'd be talking about this and really believing it, I would have thought you've lost the plot. I mean, seriously. But nowadays, I'm like, yeah, I can see this.
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, this when I started working with these 12 new beings on the Awakened Soul course, some of them were most definitely angelic, and some are not. Some are masters, and if you like, they're in their own worlds, in their own dimensions. They are the higher beings of their own dimensions. So they're not. I can think of some of them who just blew. I mean, there's one called Odetta, and she's lioness-esque. She's very feline, and she's extraordinary. She's scary, but when she's around you, it's like there's nothing you can't do. It's just like, extraordinary energy, and they make me wonder. I shouldn't really talk about them. If I say it 3 times, they might pop up 3 or 4. But it's like your whole energy is trembling with their energy, because it's so high. It's incredible.
Mm. So when people say they're channeling Mother Mary or master, higher masters and everybody, do you think we can all call upon that essence of like Mother Mary or Odetta, or who'd you say, Odetta?
Odetta.
Odetta?
Yeah. I think, yeah, we can, but the question that people will always say, well, how can Raphael be like with me doing a healing in London, but he's also like in a gazillion other places? You lose the fact that they're a he or a she, or they're an energy, you know, and they can be anywhere they need to be. The energy can be anywhere they need to be. We have a need to humanize it, and because of the nature of how we work symbolically, we have a need to put them into those shapes and forms. Because it helps us, and it also helps bring the energy in. That's symbolically, that's what it does. So if you meditate on something, that you're going to attract that energy towards you, and in order to do that, you need a symbolism. You need something to create it in your mind, that creates it in your heart, and then that creates it around you. That's all that is. So when you call on Mother Mary, you're calling on the energy of.
Beautiful. And we have that. Everybody has that ability to call.
I think so, but it's like everybody has the ability to talk to spirit, but it's training, and it's also, you know, something we forget. It's desire. So not everybody wants to, you know, and it's not their turn to do it here on earth at this time, because they've got family karma to deal with, or they've got karma to deal with that is so earthy that there isn't any space for that. You know, everybody doesn't have to do it. It's not a prerequisite. No.
Exactly. And another lifetime that may be the case, and this time it might be. Yeah,
exactly.
That's once I've, you know, what I love about learning about how available this information is about past lives and other lives, it kind of takes the pressure off of this lifetime, doesn't it?
A little
to
bit,
try to cram a lot into one life, and have different experiences.
But then you work it. The reason I work with so many disciplines is Gemini, but also, you know, when you
Gemini rising.
Yeah, yay! That's why you look so young, Laura. That's a great rising sign for youthfulness. It's the Peter Pan sign. So you have your past life work, which works beautifully with your chart, because you can see that, you can see the lessons, you can see why you're here. You can work then with the tarot within Kabbalah to help guide you through the path of your own personal tree. So they all link in together, and it's finding what mix of that, or what discipline works for you, really.
Very good. Well, this has been, I mean, I seriously could talk to you for hours.
We probably could. Gemini rising and Gemini, of course we could. I haven't even begun to tell you about a lovely flaky pastry recipe I've got there, Laura.
Oh, do tell. That'll be our next talk. I'd love to have you back on again sometime. Are you open to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Awesome. So anybody who'd like to connect with David, please go to davidwells.co.uk. Sign up for his newsletter, get a free meditation, subscribe to his YouTube channel. Oh, and your new Oracle cards are coming out soon. Tell me about that.
They are. Yeah, I have, everything's a bit slower because of recent events, but I do have, you're the first person I've outed them to, Laura.
Oh, I'm so honored.
I do have Oracle cards coming out that are based on Kabbalah. That I've worked over the last years, about, you know, probably a little less than that. They've been a joy to make. They've been, as ever, interesting, trying to get the imagery just right. But they're all done, and it's just waiting on that process of signing final contracts with my American publisher. So you will get them in the States, and then just getting them distributed and onto the website and that sort of thing.
Can't wait to see them. I'm so excited.
I can't wait to have a physical copy, to be honest, but you know, I'll make sure you get a copy, Laura.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I can't wait. I cannot wait to see them. I'm sure they're beautiful.
Yeah, I'm very happy with them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us here for this hour. I really appreciate it. It was lovely chatting with you as always. And so again, if anybody'd like to connect with David, davidwells.co.uk. Take care, David. Be well.
Thank you, Laura.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye, my love.
Bye.